welcome again to Q&A Saturday. I'm Alison Beer of alisonbeer.com, where I teach adults who want to re-engage their creativity, live really light-hearted and draw their very own cartoon characters. Today I'm going to be looking at how you add a whole lot of depth to your pictures by adding a fore, a middle and a background. So I'm just going to draw myself a little character, pottering along, nothing in particular on his mind. This character is what we're going to use to give ourselves a context and some depth. So we are adding depth via the use of a foreground, a middle ground and a background. It's dead simple and you can follow along. Here I am putting in a ground line behind our character and giving him a bit of a road to be walking on. So that's actually part of the middle ground. Now what can we put in front? Let's put a very higgledy-piggledy looking set of fence posts in front of him to give a sense of what's very close to us. And then behind him we'll put this line to show us that there's a hedge. The hedge separates him from these trees and various bushes which are behind the hedge. This is a bit of a mountain and another tree in front of the mountain and some bushes in front of that tree. So now we need to put in intensity because the stuff closest to us is the most intense, and that's what adds to the sense of depth. The other thing that adds to the sense of depth is the overlapping. And you can see how I've overlapped the fence posts across the character. And you'll see how we go on to overlap the character over the hedge behind him. So now I'm going to put in the green for the hedge. And just to emphasize this overlapping, I'm going to put the color straight through the character at the moment. So you can see he doesn't look like he's in front of the hedge at all. But as soon as we go back and erase the green out of him, you can tell immediately that he is between the fence and the hedge. Without the overlapping, you wouldn't see that at all. So I'm just going to tidy up the background a little bit before we add the color, because some of these lines are a bit confusing. I want to be very sure what's in front and what's behind. And then we're going to add color to our various overlapping layers of bushes and trees in the far background. So this is the closest bush to the hedge. This is kind of the medium bush, so if I wanted to be perfectly consistent I would have used this color on the closer one. This is our next closest bush. And then of course we want to fill in the color for the trees far behind. So these are our trees getting their color on. And as you can see, there's not a lot of difference between the intensity of the hedge, which is a lot closer, and the trees. So we'll go in and we'll put in another layer of color onto the hedge just to give it that intensity so that it shows how much closer the hedge is than the distant trees. So there's a layer of color for that hedge. Perfect. And now let's tidy up the foreground because we need some intensity in the foreground in front of these fence poles. We're going to give it a little bit of grass, all sorts of different colors and some scratchy looking grass. And we also need to give a little pop of color onto our character. So there you can see we've got some nice intensity in the grass in the foreground and a bright, bright character in the front. So that was my answer to the question, how do you add depth to a picture by having a fore, a middle and a background? As you can see, it's a really simple process and I hope you pick up your pencil and follow along right now. Did you like this video? If you did, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you'd like even more tips that I only share on email, head on over to my website www.alisonbeer.com and sign up there for email updates. Keep putting pencil to paper because every single time you practice, you get that little bit better and tiny increments make for huge progress. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time on Q&A Saturday.